Hi, this is WNR. I'm Elliana.
And I'm Aaron.
Here's a roundup of this week's news.
The Taliban have claimed responsibility for a series of attacks in Kabul, calling it part of their spring offensive. The attacks claimed the lives of over 30 insurgents, 8 policemen, and 3 civilians. Violence erupted at the US, British, German, and Russian embassies in the capital, as well as NATO headquarters. Militants also stormed sites in 3 other cities in eastern provinces. US and Afghan officials have blamed the Haqqani network, a powerful wing of the Taliban based in Pakistan, for the attacks. These raids come as US, Afghan, and Pakistani officials have been negotiating opening supply routes from Pakistan into Afghanistan. Relations have been tense between the states, and every attack believed to have been designed and funded by parties within Pakistan creates more distrust between sides.
The Los Angeles Times published photos of U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan posing with the remains of dead Afghan suicide bombers. The newspaper received the photos from a soldier in the 82nd Airborne Division in a province south of Kabul, who said he was giving the images to the media due to his concerns over a breakdown in leadership and discipline that he believed compromised the safety of the troops. The photos are extremely disturbing, reminding many of the recent controversies involving U.S. troops in Afghanistan, including the March shooting of 17 Afghanis by a single soldier, allegations that U.S. troops accidentally burned Qurans in February, and the video of U.S. troops urinating on Afghan corpses that surfaced in January. According to spokesman Jay Carney, President Obama has said that the recent photos necessitate an investigation, and Defense Secretary Leon Panetta publicly apologized for the photos on the behalf of the Department of Defense and U.S. government at a news conference in Brussels.
Protesters have once again taken to the streets in Bahrain. The island nation is scheduled to host a Formula One Grand Prix from April 20th to the 22nd. Last year, the race had to be canceled due to civil unrest, as demonstrators throughout the country demanded political and economic change during the period of uprising and revolution in the region, now commonly referred to as the Arab Spring. Although both the number and size of protests has dropped off over the past year, many organizations and individuals are beginning to make some noise again. The Grand Prix is part of a 20-event season that travels around the world, and over 100,000 people attended the race the last time Bahrain hosted it in 2010. Formula One fans and viewers around the globe will be looking towards Bahrain, and vocal members of the nation's opposition are taking advantage of the moment. Amnesty International and a host of other organizations have criticized the Bahraini government for violations of human rights and violent crackdowns on its own people. Protests leading up to the first practice round of the Grand Prix were broken up with stun guns and tear gas.
Egypt's Supreme Presidential Electoral Commission, or SPEC, decided this week to disqualify 10 candidates from the presidential race. SPEC was reviewing appeals by the candidates to be allowed to run in the May 23rd and 24th election. Most notably, SPEC has disqualified Omar Suleiman, former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak's spy chief, Hazem Salah Abu Ismail, an ultra-conservative Islamist, and Karat al-Shadr, the Muslim Brotherhood's candidate. Each potential candidate was rejected for legal reasons. Suleiman failed to achieve the total 30,000 statements of support to qualify as a candidate. Abu Ismail's mother is said to be a dual Egyptian-American citizen, which defies a new Egyptian law, and Shadr had a criminal conviction against him during a political trial under Mubarak. The Muslim Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party quickly announced that Dr. Mohamed Morsi will step in for Shadr to become their new party candidate. Abu Ismail has pledged to continue to fight the disqualification.
Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim pledged that the Syrian government would respect the presence of UN monitors in the country and adhere to the peace plan negotiated by Kofi Annan, the UN Arab League envoy to Syria. The peace plan, which was implemented last Thursday, includes an immediate ceasefire between government forces and opposition groups, as well as a withdrawal of the military from conflict zones. However, these promises to uphold the ceasefire were undermined by reports from opposition members and observers, stating that government troops have continued brutalizing protesters. UN monitors specifically reported an incident where military forces opened fire on a group of protesters gathered around a UN vehicle in Damascus. At least 20 demonstrators were injured, and 4 are in critical condition. These reports have called into question the effectiveness of the UN plan.
Addressing a rally at his party's headquarters, Sudanese President Omar al-Bashar declared that he would free the recently formed state of South Sudan from its ruling government, the Sudanese People's Liberation Movement. He set up an all-or-nothing scenario as he spoke to the SPLM, stating, "Either we end up in Juba and take everything, or you end up in Khartoum and take everything." This announcement comes after several clashes over oil-rich town of Heglig, which rests on the border of Sudan and South Sudan. Both sides claim to have military forces in the region to maintain control of the territory. Many citizens in both Sudan and South Sudan fear that this rhetoric, along with border clashes, may develop into a full-scale war between the two nations.
Well, that's it for this week.
Check out warnewsradio.org for more original content on global conflict.
Or subscribe to us on YouTube to receive new work every week.
Thanks for viewing!